Hey everyone, so in today's video I'm going to show you how I crocheted Stuart. The only thing I didn't do was add his hair to the top, but I did find my inspiration from Pinterest, of course. The only thing is they didn't leave like a link to a pattern or anything, so I kind of had to, find out like myself how many stitches I needed for every round and everything. But I have it here and I will write it down, more clearly and leave it in the description box below. But yeah, so here he is. I actually started off with this guy, but look at the difference. Of course, this is a different hook. This one was a 5.5 millimeter hook, and then for the one I'm going to show you today, I'm using a 4.5 millimeter. But feel free to use whatever size hook you want, depending on what size Stuart you want to make. Also, the only difference is when I actually filmed this video yesterday, but it turned out horrible because I completely skipped around, which is why he turned out smaller. But I realized it kind of looks better this way when he's a little bit more slim, how he actually looks than this one. But yes, so what you will need is, of course, yellow, blue, black, white, and gray yarn, and then a safety eye. And to attach this, I did use a hot glue gun. Also, I attached this eye with the hot glue gun as well because it's going through like 2 layers, so it's not like the closure is not long enough for it, so I did glue that. And then you need some fiberfill and let's see what else. Fiberfill, scissors, of course, and a stitch marker. Again, I am using the size 4.5 millimeter hook. So let's get started. To begin this project, we want to start off with a yellow yarn, and we're going to make a magic circle. I do have a video on this, but I will show you in this video if you don't know how to do it already. You want to just take your yarn, wrap it around 3 fingers, and you have this X right here. So you see this yarn that I'm holding with the hand with my hook. I'm just going to take my hook, go into the circle underneath, grab that yarn, and then kind of twist it just like this. So I have this loop right here. I'm gonna go again with my hook, and you see the string back here. I'm just gonna grab that and pull it through. So just like that. And then you can tighten it by pulling on the string, just like that. And that is your magic circle. So the reason for the magic circle is, of course, you can pull it to make it tighter when your loops. And then we want to single crochet into the loop 6 times. So a single crochet is going into your loop, grabbing this yarn right here, pulling it through just like that. Then you want to yarn over your hook and pull through. So that is a single crochet. You want to do that 5 more times until you end up with 6, and I will be back after that. So I currently have 6 single crochets into my magic circle, and to finish this round off, what you're going to do is take your hook and slip stitch into that first stitch you made. So a slip stitch is inserting your hook into that stitch, yarning over your hook, and then pulling through both loops. And then once you do that, that is where you want to, well, that's where I personally place my stitch marker. I know some people do it differently, but this is where I start, and then so this is where I will end my next round, so that's where I place my stitch marker. But based off of preference of where you want to place it, and then we can begin on round 2. For round 2, we want to do 2 single crochets into each stitch, which will be a total of 12 stitches for round 2. So 2 stitches into each stitch, or 2 single crochets, sorry. So that is just what we've been doing. That's 1, 2. So continue that all the way around until you end up with 12 stitches in total for round 2. Okay, so for round 3, we're going to single crochet into the first stitch and then increase, and you repeat that process all the way around, equaling to a total of 18 stitches in total for round 3. So we will start off with a single crochet into the first stitch, and then your increase, which is 2 single crochets into the next stitch, and you want to repeat those steps all the way around. So I will be back once I'm done with my third round. Okay, so now for round 4 to 9, all you're going to do is a single crochet all the way around. So again, round 4 to 9, just single crochet all the way around, and then that will start to create your shape of Stuart, and it will become like a cylinder. Okay, so for round 10, it's also going to be a round of single crochets, but you will be doing your color change on this round. So for round 10, I have already completed most of it. I am now at my end, and for the end part, okay, I just wanted to mention that someone left a comment, I believe it was Katie, and she told me how to do the color change, but I think I'm still doing it wrong, so I did find a video, and I'm going to show you how I'll color change for this now, because when I followed Katie's advice, I got this little gap on Stuart in this one. So I'm gonna try another method. She's probably right, it's just that like I'm probably doing something wrong, but I did find a video, and what they did was I'm gonna take out the stitch marker, which is the stitch I haven't done yet. So what I'm gonna do is slip stitch. So I'm gonna slip stitch into that last stitch right here, which is yarning over and then pulling through both of the loops, and then I'm gonna take my blue yarn. This is exactly what she did say in the comment though. And then I'm going to take the blue yarn, yarn over and pull through. And then I'm going to take that yellow just so I can pull it and tighten it up a bit. And in this video, what she did was when she inserted her hook into the stitch right here, the next stitch, she grabs the yellow yarn and then yarns over with the blue. So just like that. And I'm just going to continue to do that all the way around, and you should still end up with 18 stitches in total. So let me just take this out really quick and put my stitch marker, well, yeah, put my stitch marker here. And then continue that around. I'll show you one more time. So you want to insert your hook through the next stitch, take your yellow yarn, pull that through, but yarn over with the blue and pull it through just like that. It's kind of messy showing it on camera, but basically that's what you do all the way around. So I guess I should. Okay, so I am now to the end of round 11, and I'm going to explain that one more time, and just in case you didn't get what I was saying earlier. So for the color change, what you're going to do is take your hook and insert it into the next stitch. Well, this is my last stitch. And then once your hook is inserted, you want to yarn over with the yellow and pull it through. So it's still a single crochet, you're just working with 2 colors. And now you have a blue and yellow hoop or loop. And then you're going to yarn over with your blue yarn and pull it through both. So that is my 18th stitch, and what I'm going to do is just remove it and then insert my stitch marker. And you are now done with the color change in round 11. So for round 12 to 15, you just want to single crochet all the way through, and you can cut off your yarn and then tie pieces and just, you know, stuff it in there so it's not in your way. And when you begin round 12, you don't want to insert your hook, or you don't want to start where this yellow is, because that was basically where the change was. You just want to go ahead and work into the blue and go all the way around. So I'm just going to do that right now. If I can work it through. And just start single crocheting all the way through. So just like that, and then I will be back after round 15. I just finished round 12, which was the single crochets, and let me tell you, that was kind of a struggle. You could kind of tell in the other clip, but I'm very impressed with this change. You know, it's not as prominent as this one. You can see like the gap right here. With this one, not as much. So I'm really happy with that. Okay, so I just realized that when you're crocheting and you're counting the rounds, you might get a little bit mixed up because when you did the color change, it's basically one stitch, right? But you used yellow and blue. So just so you're not confused, when you're counting blue, just don't count this part, just count blue and make sure you have about 6 rounds. It will depend on how tight you crochet, because you know this is just like my own written pattern, but do like 5 to 6, 5 to 7, just depending on how tight you crochet, because I did crochet pretty tight right here, so I did have to add a couple rounds. So again, just go based off of how yours is looking and how like long you want his, you know, overalls to be. So I did six rounds of the single crochet, and I'm now going to start decreasing. So after your 6 rounds, we're going to do round 7 of blue, and we're going to decrease. Okay, so to decrease, we want to just first start off with 1 single crochet, and then you're going to decrease. So for the decrease, because this is a smaller amigurumi, I will be doing the invisible decrease, which is so you see the stitch, the next stitch I'm going into, I'm only going into the back loop. So insert your hook to the back loop, pull some yarn through, and then you don't yarn over yet. You want to go into the next stitch right next to it, and then go into the back loop again, pull some yarn through, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. If I can get that through. Okay, there you go. And then you want to repeat that process all the way through. Again, a single crochet, and then your invisible decrease. So you just want to insert your hook through the back loop, grab some yarn, insert through the next stitch of the back loop, pull some yarn, yarn over, and go through all 3. So I will be back after I finish decreasing this round. Okay, so after your first round of decreasing, what I did was just went ahead and stuffed the little guy, and then I'm going to do a round of just single crochets. So once you do your single crochets, I will be back to show you the next round of decreasing. So again, after your first round of decreasing, go ahead and stuff your little minion, and then you will do your single crochets, and then I will be back for the next round of decreases. Okay, so after your round of single crochets, you can remove your stitch marker, because what we're going to do now is just decrease all the way through until you have your closure. So since this is the bottom, you don't have to do your invisible decrease, because you know it won't matter too much since you can't see it, but you're just going to decrease. So again, the decrease is inserting your hook through the next stitch, pulling some yarn through, going into the next stitch, pulling more yarn through. You have 3 loops, yarn over, and then pull through all 3. So continue to decrease all the way around until you end up with nothing left to basically crochet, and I will be back to show you how that will look. Okay, so I finished with my last row of decreasing. You know, when you're just struggling a little bit and then there's only a small closure, you can go ahead and cut off your yarn. And then what I personally do is, once you cut off your yarn, you still have your loop. You can just go ahead and what you do is take this string, put it through the loop, and it just makes it a little bit more secure. And then you can go ahead and then stuff this excess piece of yarn inside of your minion. Moving on to the eye, what you need is the white and gray yarn, and for the white yarn you're going to do the magic circle and single crochet 6 into the circle, which is what I showed you in the beginning. So I didn't show you that here. It's just, again, the magic circle, 6 single crochets, and then your slip stitch, So after this, you can go ahead and cut off the excess piece of yarn. And now we're going to attach the gray yarn. So attaching it is going to be the same way as how I showed you the color change. So what we're going to do here is, you have your loop, just make it a little bit smaller, take your gray yarn, and then place the yarn where it's cut off just behind it so you can be a little bit more secure. Insert your hook through the white yarn. Pull it down just a little bit, and then grab your gray yarn, yarn over, and insert it just like that. So what you're going to do here is single crochet into the first stitch. Let me just make this a little bit more secure. Okay, so now I'm going to single crochet into the first stitch. And then I want to single crochet into the next stitch. And then 2 single crochets into the third stitch. 1, 2, and repeat that process again. So I'll just show you the whole thing. Single crochet into the next stitch, another single crochet into the stitch after that, and lastly 2 single crochets into the last stitch. Let me just do that over. So 2 into the last one. And then here I'm going to cut off the excess gray yarn just because it's too much to work with right now. And I want to slip stitch into the gray stitch that I made in the beginning. So take your hook, insert it through the gray, grab this gray yarn, and then just pull through both. So that is your slip stitch. And that is the eye. To continue with the eye, what I'm going to do is, well, what I already did was tie the gray yarn together just to make it secure. And then you see all this yarn, I'm just going to cut like 90% of it off. And what I'm gonna do with the rest is just basically glue it down. I didn't cut all of it off because I didn't want any like loose ends really, like for it to possibly untie itself. But what I'm gonna do here is just glue this down. So I'm gonna do that off camera, but just take your hot glue gun and glue it to make it a little bit flat. And then what I'm gonna do is, okay, so for the eye, as I told you before, it's going to be a little bit hard to attach this with using the back piece. So what I do, this is the back of the eye, and then I'm gonna take my hot glue gun and just place some in the middle, just like that. And before it dries, I'm going to take the safety eye and place it from the front. Just like that, so it can just dry up a little bit. And that is how I attach the eye. Now moving on to the band for the eye, what you're gonna do is take some black yarn, and then you want to make a chain and make sure it just fits all the way around your minion. And to make the chain, you're going to take your black yarn, wrap it around your finger, and after that you want to take the back yarn and insert it through the loop just like that. It's a slip knot, basically create a slip knot. And then go ahead and chain as much as you need to in order for you to wrap it around Stuart's head. So I'll be back after I finish chaining. So what I did here was just attach the black yarn. You can glue it down, and I know there is a way where you can basically slip stitch like yarn this way, but I don't want to do that way. So this is how I did it. And then what I'm going to do is just glue down the eye right here in the middle, just like that. So I'm going to take my hot glue gun, put it right where this yarn is, and then glue it down. And then what you can do here is just glue down the edges just to make it a little bit more flat so it's not like popping out too much. So I'm gonna do that off of camera and then I will show you what it looks like. So here is Stuart once you glue everything down, and I did add a mouth. You just cut some yarn and then insert it through just like that. He looks so cute. Here's the other one. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you have any questions, please leave them down below. I will do my best to answer all of them. And just to show you, this is where I started, and this is where I ended. It does take time, you know. I had hard times with color change for the longest, and then it was barely today when I figured it out. So yeah, you can barely tell with the color change. You can see on my first color change, it looks like this, and then this, and now this. So just keep practicing if you have a hard time. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed.